Arunachala Shiva.
Welcome to the second session of the Yogavasishta discourse we were having, and to the last day of the colloquium organized by Tadvanam Ashram. And here I thank, first of all, I thank Tadvanam Ashram trustees and Jayatan, who had been like a mentor for all of us, most of us, for giving such an opportunity to revisit Yogavasishta with a purpose and with a more personal purpose. And I really congratulate Satyanand, Nandakumar, Dilip, Nayatil, like wish all the best for the future interviews, because and all so many other like participants in the ashram. They have been like putting a very beautiful effort to build up the new campus of Tadvanam Ashram at Varani, and in a very magically beautiful way, and like in a very fast pace. And that space is being inaugurated for this Shivaratri, and I wish Tadvanam Ashram all the well wishes for that as well. And towards the end of the discourse, we had been like dealing with other topics also with different luminaries. So here I'll briefly run through the prakaranams. As we told, like there is a progression of like cognition throughout the prakaranams, or thematically in the prakaranams, and I'll discuss some brief or the core one key theme of that prakaranam to ponder upon. And so the first prakaranam is the Vaira. Also, I wanted to tell something else as well, that English is a second language for me, and this so much of theoretically heavy words like which I used in these books might not find apt translation, and like it might sometimes might not sound English, and so certain words I had to retain to not lose the weight of the theoretical aspect of it. For example, sankalpam, I cannot replace it with any English word. Like imagination is the closest word, but sankalpam has an ontological weight also. Like it has more profoundness in its aspects of meanings. So I retain certain words as theoretical words, as we use Latin words in English. I'm using certain Sanskrit words in English, like while I'm going through it. And yes, so the first prakaranam is the Vairagya prakaranam. In this prakaranam, the setting up of the arena happens. It's almost like an invocation in a storytelling. It also lays down the context of Yogavasishta. It lays ground to the significance of the discourse unboxed in Yogavasishta. Dispositions on Vairagyotpatti, Jagadosha Prakasha Varnanam, and Vairagya Varnanam are discussed in this prakaranam. Bharadwaja asked Valmiki how Rama survived the samsara, for he is the Maryada Purushottam. In response, Valmiki tells his disciple Bharadwaja how Rama survived the samsara. Rama, after Gurukulam, spent some time chilling. Eventually, as he is of Shuddha Vasanas, eventually he had taste to visit sacred places and to do pilgrimage. After the extensive pilgrimage, Rama continues to stay at the palace, practicing snanam, dhyanam, jabam, etc., until all the malina vasanas are diluted and vanished, and only glowing Shuddha Vasana filled in him. So this idea of Vasana we will discuss again while we are coming to the next Pravanas. It's like Sankalpa, the Sankalpas are based on Vasanas. So we'll come back to that word for in detail soon. Eventually Rama lost interest in his routine, grew gloomy and zoned out. He lost weight and hardly spoke to someone. He was in depression, or what we call depression these days. Dasharatha tried to talk to him regarding his sadness but failed. Around this time, Vishwamitra Maharshi came to Ayodhya with a request to fight the demons who are interrupting his yajnas. He wants Rama to take up the responsibility, not only because he is efficient, but also it is his duty as a Kshatriya prince. Dasharatha gets upset because he thinks Rama is too young and not ready for a real life combat. Instead, he offered his and his massive army's support to suppress the Rakshasas who are interrupting the yajnas. Here there is an echo of pessimism that is inherent in all of us. We think someone else would set things right. Or we blame fate about the iniquities and suffering and wait for a good time to come. But the time does not come by itself. It is human will that is the change makers. Vishwamitra gets agitated about Dasharatha's blabbering that echoed his weakness. Vasishta gathers courage to intervene, who was present at the Darbar at that time, and remind Dasharatha that his son, who is born to the great lineage of Ikshvaku, is strong and able to carry out great endeavours. Listening to Vasishta, Dasharatha summons Rama. The messenger alerts Dasharatha and the rishis about Rama's present state. That Rama is aloof and silent, disinterested even in his daily activities. He does not want to perform any karma and is impatient to get liberated. He is overwhelmed by Vairagya Moha, originated by the awakening of mind through Viveka Vairagya. It's not fear or laziness. Rama is summoned and asked to describe his predicament, and he expounds the Jagat Dosha Prakasha Varga, like the light shedding light on the problem of Jagat. Rama is convinced that this dreamlike world is unreal. There is someone playing the chord. It's of Maya. Rama realizes the world is Maya. So he is disinterested in the world that hinders the ultimate happiness of Brahma Anubhava. Rama is disinterested in wealth. He thinks Lakshmi is a trickster that tempts into the Vishayas. Rama is disinterested in woman, lust, for it binds the self of worldly Maya and makes forget about the ultimate reality. Rama is disinterested in Vishayas altogether, for it creates clinging and craving. So he is shut down to himself, not indulging in any outward karma. He aspires to stop any chitta vritti, any thoughts, and take up the practice of not doing any karma. Bharadwaja, now Valmiki is telling story to Bharadwaja, and Bharadwaja is now curious about what happens next. So now Bharadwaja kind of empathizes with Rama, and Valmiki knows that, and obviously Bharadwaja asked what happened next. So Vishwamitra's response to Rama, Valmiki tells that Vishwamitra responds to Rama this way: you have known everything as to be known. Only you need inner peace, just like Shuka, son of Vyasa. Now Vishwamitra tells another story to Rama, and that story is told to Bharadwaja by Valmiki. Now as Bharadwaja was curious about Rama's story, Rama is curious of Shuka's story. So in the Shuka story, what happens is, Shuka is son of Vedavyas, and he has this vairagya moh for himself. He goes to Vedavyas and he expounds what he knows, and like he's not satisfied, and Vedavyas knows like I cannot convince my son, because he thinks the saints like who are like away from like the life of a saint who's like the renounced life is suitable, and like he thinks that's the way, and he don't know somebody who's in samsara and practicing the Advaita. To convince him that aspect of this truth, Vedavyas sends Shuka to Janaka Maharaj, and there Shuka and Janaka has a conversation about like what has happened with me, like, and what is the reality. And Janaka says, this is the nature of reality, so and so is the nature of reality. And by the hearing of it, by the external validation of this experience from a real life person, Shuka's confusion is cleared, and like then he melts into the Brahmanabhav. So this is a story of Shuka which Vishwamitra tells Rama. So here, like even in case of Shuka, in case of Rama, or in Bharadwaja, one thing common is that they all ask the right question. So I've heard the story of Madhur Babu, who's disciple of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. So he goes to Paramahamsa and like wants wishes for like a promotion for him. So he'll get a 900 rupees job. Ramakrishna grants it, but he feels really pity for his disciple that this is what my disciple asked for. So teacher waits patiently and preparedly for his or her or their student to be ripened enough to ask the right questions. So now Rama is not indulgent in the samsara. So for Buddha the case is different. His first Arya Satya is that there is truth. He had to stop the people and he has to tell them, listen, there is suffering, you are all suffering. He had to convince them. So that is Buddhism. It goes into the ignorant masses and like let them get aware of this suffering. Many are not aware of their suffering. But here Rama is different. He is already aware that he is suffering, and he already knows the absurdity of the world, and now he wants to come to peace with it. He don't know what to do with it. Okay, I know it. Now what? So this question of now what? What is this? So this is the right question. And the disciple who asks this right question genuinely is the right disciple. And the right master is so delighted when he has a disciple like this. The right question has been asked by the disciple. Right questions prompt right answers. Ask the question, so the answer. If I can reach Kashi in 3 days, yes, you can reach by train or by flight. Can I see Manikarnika Ghat? Yes, you can see Manikarnika Ghat. Can I spend a night there? Yes, can I spend a night there? Can I have a spiritual experience there? And once you have a spiritual experience there, how do you integrate that into your common sense and into your normal life? How to do that? So these are the levels of questions, and like a disciple can ask a teacher, like a disciple can ask for a saintly teacher, like, sir, please make my promotion happen. Like it's like going to a doctor and getting prescriptions. No. So those kind of questions are there, like disciples can ask that kind of question also, and disciple can ask questions that are more intense. And in Yogavasishta they say the right disciple is the disciple who knows the ways of the Guru and who knows how to ask the right questions to get the right answer from him. So framing the question is a very significant part in Yogavasishta, or in the life of a disciple, in the life of a person who's beginning his journey of spiritual seeking. So like what is the beginning of the spiritual seeking again? It's the Vairagyam. And So the Vairagya Varnanam in the Vairagya Prakaranam, Vishwamitra expounds the story of Shuka, how he has disinterested in the worldly affairs after realizing the unreality and ephemerality of the world by logical thinking. Shuka realized the truth, but in a way he was seeking validation. Once he went and discussed about the same with his father Vyasa. Though he was informed what he has understood is the truth, some clarity lacked. He was still not convinced about how the world arises and dissolves. He has not felt it, he has heard about it. Vyasa admitted he could not explain the truth to his son verbally. He referred him to Janaka, the king of Videha. Vyasa is the one who has categorized the Vedas. We even have heard the phrase Vyasochistam Jagat Sarvam. Why a person of such zeal and wisdom was unable to clarify doubts of his own son? Why was Shuka referred to not a saint or Brahmin but a king who delves into worldly political affairs? Swami Vivekananda, in his discourse on practical Vedanta, underlines in the very beginning that Indian philosophy is not just for the ascetics who has renounced the world. It is not exclusive to those rishis aloof in Himalayas. He says this philosophy is very significant to those immersed in worldly affairs as well. In a way, understanding Indian philosophy is more significant to those in the realm of karma than to those in the realm of renunciation, because it informs ways to navigate in samsara. I understand Yogavasishta also chose Janaka, a king, and Shuka, an ascetic boy, possibly to underline this aspect, an ascetic boy coming to a worldly king to seek the eternal wisdom. So like now the Sadhu Baba cannot monopolize the eternal wisdom. Anybody in any field can embody that wisdom and can live in samsara as a Jivan Mukta. The truth of Yogavasishta is not limited to those who seek renunciation. Rather, it prompts ways to navigate samsara without being estranged from it, seeking ways to navigate through this existence than to escape from it. Janaka expounds the truth to Shuka. The samsara arises in chaotic multitude through sankalpa, within the Atman whose nature is awareness. The samsara arises in chaotic multitude through sankalpa within the Atman whose nature is awareness. When sankalpas subdue, the world dissolves as well. There is no substance in the world otherwise. All sciences prove this fact. So this keyword sankalpa is now coined by Janaka, so in the context of Yogavasishta. And there are stories like where it expounds the situation of the sankalpa to it. So see, like in Yogavasishta they have used the storytelling, like so, like Vasishta tells Rama that the Katha Katana Leela is one reason is because it gives a context to the audience, but also so the truth, it's actually an event, it's not a statement. I am alive is a statement, but the life, the truth of my life, it's in the event of my existence. So that needs like a very tactile knowledge, a very tactile experience of the truth, and this is expressed through storytelling. So the stories create a verse around you, a cloud of thought in which you can empathize with the situation. It's kind of a thought experiment. You can empathize with the situation and you can place yourself into that narrative, and you can encounter some sort of catharsis regarding this eternal truth. So that is one reason they have, and this is how like mythology is also significant. Like many of the myths are stories which are to be enlivened than to be told of and heard of. Certain stories we need to live it. So that is the aspect of storytelling. And coming back to this idea of sankalpa. According to the Yogavasishta, sankalpa is the mental faculty that enables us to create and shape our experiences through our thoughts, intentions and desires. It is the power of imagination, creativity and manifestation. Sankalpa refers to the power of thought or intention that shapes our experiences and perceptions of reality. It is a fundamental concept in the text and is considered a key factor in the creation of our individual realities. The illusion of myriad of forms are created by the force called sankalpa, which could be roughly translated to intention. Any experience happens in awareness. Intention taints the awareness into experience. What is implied is that the external world relies on mental formations, the way we imagine to create the colors of our experience. The way we imagine to create the colors of our experience. The world is an echo of our imagination, not the other way around. Our imagination is not mimicking the world. Rather, the world is an echo of our imagination. There is a Copernican shift in orientation from the positive sciences, which claims the mental images are formed by the impressions of the external world made through sense experience. The famous medieval philosopher John Locke has coined the phrase tabula rasa, that the mind is a clean slate when a child is born, in which impressions are made throughout the life by sense experience of the world. The Eastern philosophy thinks differently. That mind is not a clean slate while born, it carries innate imprints or texture from the past life karmas and vasana. That the world takes shape in tune with this mental formation that relies on the vasanas of past life karma. The cluster of sankalpa that informs experience can also be interpreted as a cultural epoch a child is born into. Our perception is culturally and geographically conditioned. A culture is influenced by the landscape and climate as well. The people who lived in the past, their food habit, vocal styles, physical characteristics, etc. The Yogavasishta teaches that our sankalpa has the power to create and shape our experiences, and that we can use this power to manifest our desires and create our reality. However, it also warns that our sankalpa can be influenced by our past experiences, conditioning, and karma, which can lead to the creation of negative and limiting patterns. To overcome these limitations, the Yogavasishta recommends the practice of sankalpa shuddhi, or the purification of the mind and intention. This involves cultivating a clear and focused mind, letting go of negative and limiting patterns, and aligning one's intentions with ultimate reality. When the sankalpa is conscious, intentional, and deliberate creation of thoughts and desires, it is the power of conscious manifestation, savitarka sankalpa. While it is unconscious, habitual, and automatic creation of thoughts and desires, it is the power of unconscious manifestation, savichara sankalpa. Sankalpa is subjective, different for different psychophysical formations. Even the spectrum of sensations such as light and sound itself is varied for different life forms. This itself proves that there is no ground for an objective world. How a bat sees the world, how a bird sees the world, how a dog sees the world are totally different from the way we perceive our reality. And even within human individuals, there are through the cultural and demographic differences, there are different worldviews which are coexisting. Only thing that is sure is a subject that experience and respond to events. The ground of that subject is awareness. The fabric of this awareness is Brahman. How to reach this level of understanding? See, the only thing that is sure is a subject that experience and respond to events. The ground of that subject is awareness. Because I'm aware of that subject, I'm able to understand that or perceive that subject. And this awareness, the fabric of this awareness is Brahman. This is what Yogavasishta says. And how to reach this level of understanding? According to Yogavasishta, renunciation of sankalpas is the way to reach this liberating wisdom. Through sankalpa nirodha, one can experience the witnessing awareness behind every experience. This is very congruent to the idea of the chitta vritti nirodha in yoga. Bondage is believing the false dead forms to be true and alive. Bhed bhavana, the discriminatory knowledge, makes vasana to be attached with the worldly forms. Bhog bhavana could be translated to a desire to consume. Our intentions, sankalpas, when tuned to the will to do, that the will to witness, than the will to witness, designs the vasanas also that way. Through rational thinking, one could eventually reach a point where the unreal nature of external world is revealed. Virakti rises from this wisdom. It's a disinterested withdrawal from the world of affairs. Until validated from a wise master who has already seen the truth, this knowledge would unsettle the seeker. This is why Bharadwaja approached Vatmiki, and Shuka approached Janaka, and Rama approached Vasishta. As Shuka, Rama is also unsettled with the experience of truth. Saint Vishwamitra requests Saint Vasishta, son of Brahman himself, who is also the Kula Guru of Sri Rama's clan, to calm Rama's mind, unsettled with the experience of this truth. Knowledge is right when it is delivered to the deserving. The disciple who is ripe with Vairagya and Viveka, like Rama, is the right one who is worthy of this knowledge. Vasishta spoke. So here the first prakaranam ends. So in the first prakaranam, mainly Vishwamitra and Rama talks to each other, and like Vishwamitra requests Vasishta to give him authentic knowledge about, authentic validation from his perspective. And Vasishta starts there. And in the second prakaranam, which is the Mumukshu Vyavahara prakaranam, one key word, like Vasishta begins with like a disposition of the idea of Paurusham. So this Purusha is of this Paurusham. It's not, he's not telling about Purusha, but there is a Paurusham which is a will to survive, or the way, it's the will actually, the way one asserts its existence. No, this Paurusham, this life, this Prana Shakti, this Chalak Shakti. So this is in, this is two kinds. This Paurusham are of two kinds. So one which follows the path of science, that the traditions, that reveals the truth, the Shastrita Paurusham, and other is the one which follows the unscientific path of not truth, which leads to malady, that is the Uchchaistharam Paurusham. And this Paurusham is, we don't know where it came from, it's grace, like it's just there. And it's more like Bali and Sugriva, the Paurushams, like in context of Rama. Like so Bali is representation of like the downward Paurusha, and Sugrivan is representation of like directed towards Ram, and maybe that's a kind of connection which literally we can make. And so Rama asks, okay, this Paurusham can, so Vasishta says, so we have to use the Paurusham in the upward way and Uchchistaram Paurusham, and then you have to reach eventually the ultimate truth. But Rama says like, see, I like that idea of living a life for a greater purpose. But these vasanas are troubling. Even the vasana for sannyas, even the vasanas which are too shuddha, they are also like troubling you. And you are kind of in control of the vasanas. So there are two kinds of vasanas here. There is one is Shubha Vasana and one is Ashubha Vasana, like the good taste and the bad taste. So one with a bad taste will end up in bad situation, one with a good taste will end up in good situation, but both are situations. And like Yogavasishta is against all situations. Our point is that very idea of situation is a spam. And like there is no situation and there is only awareness. So either vasanas will take you to a situation only, and understanding the both and like building up the Shubha Vasana and like eventually like renouncing that also is the completion of this path. And what is the way for overcoming these vasanas? And like how to live a life like not controlled by the vasanas? Vasishta explains that one. So how to overcome that vasana? Mind stuck in asubha degrades. A cultured mind grow towards subha vasana. Vasana was once experience. And how did we reach the vasana? So vasana is like from Vedana it comes samskara to like the Trishna. So it's like you have an experience, you feel like either affection or aversion to that thing, you repeat your behavior, you build a relationship with that object, and the way you relate to that object is called vasana. So it can be, if it is towards a good object, that is a Shubha Vasana. If it is towards a bad object, that is an Ashubha Vasana. If it is towards a good object in a very bad way, that is again an Ashubha Vasana. So there are like overlapping of these things. And how to tame these vasanas? So he says no tapas, japa, snana or pilgrimage can give an ultimate cure for suffering, like from this vasana. It's only through knowledge that it could be achieved. There is only one reality, that is awareness, that is being. This is the knowledge he is talking about. Everything else is a distortion of awareness through maya, through sankalpa. This is the ultimate truth. So here the evolution of mind is, so initially there is this awareness, the bodham, and then there is movement, chalanam to that awareness, that is the pranan, and this chalanam, the movement grows a repeating pattern of loops, that is the manas, that is the subtle body, that is a subtle universe, and then there, from that emerges the elemental world, that is the jadatma, jagat. So this is the progression of like the way existence came to be. So how to, Rama was asking again, like how to attain revelation, how to be in that state, and how to keep away these vasanas like forever, or like for a longer period at least, like how to get rid of them like forever. So in the initial phase it involves the shastras, discourses and debates. Like you just like be part of the conversation, you just talk about it. As we talked in the beginning, we talked about how to read a text. There is a first phase, we talk about the text, we discuss, we say, we try to read it. We not really try to read it, we at least buy the book and we keep it with ourselves. But then sometimes we look at it, sometimes we just like. So this is the first phase, like we talk about it. And to whom you talk about these affairs? To the knowledgeable people. So for that you have to keep yourself surrounded by the wise people. So it's about like, see, understanding a situation or not is a different thing, but putting myself in a situation or not, like that is up to my choice, right? So I have a choice. If I have a choice of walking away from a bad situation, I do that. If I have a choice of walking into a good scenario, I do that. So Yogavasishta, like Vasishta suggests Rama that initially you build up debates, conversations, like until your mind understands it. And how you do that? You keep in touch with good people, wise people, and you keep them in loop. How we say it, no? Like we'll keep it the conversation in loop. We'll keep in touch. So you keep in touch with these people and like keep in touch to the moments where your discourse is on profound things than gossips. And then slowly you grow the ekagrata. You understand it more. Your mind naturally calms down. It gets sharpened. And then from you withdraw your interests from the sensory pleasures, because you have somehow like known and like you have made yourself believe that this might be a dream, this might be not real. Then you slowly withdraw from the pleasures, like you suddenly feel okay. And you might encounter a moment where these beliefs, these things you are talking about, it is coming as a reality, that how I experienced flood or COVID. So then you start to rethink about your notions of reality, and in an experiential level, you feel to realize what you were discussing and debating with the knowledgeable people. And from here you develop a vichara buddhi. And now the very next important term is vicharam here. We'll come to it again. So you'll grow vichara buddhi, an argumentative mind. A mind which debates on anything, like questions anything, be critical of anything. You look into deeper layers to understand it better. That is the vichara buddhi mind. And then he says, like the first phase, it's about keeping in touch with sajjanas, the good people. And who are the sajjanas? They are those who have come out of ego and selfishness. They are liberated from bondage of desires. They have realized truth. Get connected to those by any means. So here, like liberation, it comes through a combination of like few things. So initially you need to have an experience of the truth, though you don't know how to explain it or how to express it. You just experience the truth, maybe for a moment, maybe for a day, maybe in vipassana, maybe in some meditation, maybe in some fasting, maybe in some pilgrimage, maybe in some charity. So you just experience for a moment or for a brief moment that elated inner tranquility, that Brahma Anubhava, that so like it's like that's a moment you believe in God or you believe in the supernatural, that kind of moment, maybe for good or bad. Often sometimes it is the loss of a dear one, that all our desires were placed on something and suddenly that object is gone, and these desires, all the desires which we have kept on them, it suddenly becomes meaningless because they are no more there. So maybe it is that very mundane level of sadness or tragedy, or maybe it is an absurd situation. So once you have this experience, you have to figure out how to understand and integrate this experience into our day-to-day life. There we go to Shastra Siddhantas. The Shastra Siddhantas, the Shastras are testimonials of people like who have already gone through it. So I have an experience, I go through Yogavasishta, I find some congruencies of things said in Yogavasishta with what I have experienced. And then I start to realize the truth told in the text or told by the Shastras. And you try to understand it through Shastra, but there is a problem. Once you read a text, so I have a teacher of mine have told me, like, be careful while reading Upanishads, because very few get a taste of it. But once you get a taste of it, be careful not to have any agendas while reading it, because you will eventually find your own agenda in that book. That book is so profound that it will mirror your mind, and we'll understand it in our level. So be very careful, be very rigorous that you are not encountering your own prejudices than the truth said in the book. So how to understand that? How do I know that I am doing my Shastras clearly? What I am understanding is right? There comes the Guru's Upadesha. Go to a Guru not to learn something new, but to validate what happens to you naturally. Like a flower bloom, or like a fruit ripen, or a sapling grow into a tree, you evolve into the more intense layers of that Brahma Anubhava, and through Shastra and Guru's validation, you delve deeper into that reality. And with Guru's Upadesha, you do the Abhyas. So Guru knows like what to do and where am I lacking. It's just like in a theatre production or a film. An actor performs, and actor does not know, might not know his own limitations, because he don't see his performance with an aesthetic distance. He is in the performance. So there is a director outside the performance who is not involved but who knows what he is doing. So he says to the actor, he guides him that you need to put some more effort in your vocals, or you need to put some more effort on your posture, or you need to put some more effort in your reciprocity to the actor. So there will be directions given by a person who stands a bit afar from you and witness you. So the person who witness from nearby, the person who stands near, but not in you, but near you and witness you, so that he can guide you for a better experience. That is an abhyasa which is informed by Guru's Upadesha. So all of these are necessary in the process of Atma Darshana. So it all gives you different aspect of a very multifaceted awareness called the Atma Darshana. So lastly, we'll talk another key concept called Vicharam. So we talked about some Sankalpam, Vasana, Paurusham, and we'll come to Vicharam, and it comes again in the Utpatti Prakaranam. It comes like everywhere actually, but it's emphasized like here, and we'll not go much into the later Prakaranams. We'll somewhere wind up the session with Vicharam. So at least we have few words to ponder upon than to delve into others. We'll keep it for another day. And so Vicharam is the tool to realize the truth, and Vicharam is not a shallow term, it's a very technical term. It's Vicharam in Yogavasishta, it's very it's a practically oriented term. It's a method oriented term in a way. And so there the buddhi is that the buddhi that delves in Shastra Vicharam eventually finds Paramapadam. Vicharam is the aushadha for the chronic disease of prolonged samsara. So this is what they say about Vicharam. Vicharam is the aushadha for the chronic disease of prolonged samsara. The buddhi that delves in Shastra Vicharam eventually finds Paramapadam. We just do Vicharam, and till when you have to do Vicharam? Till you experience the truth ultimately. And from when you have to start doing Vicharam? From now on. When all I have to do Vicharam? Every time. When all you have to take breathing? In a way, you do it rigorously, as intensely as possible, so that you don't forget the truth expressed in the Shastras. And Vicharam is not memorizing some text or something. So there is one aspect of Vicharam, that is Drik Drishya Vicharam. When one cognitively realizes the unreality of external world and wipe off the images and forms from the mind, the manas, and that itself is the Swarupa Anubhava which reveals as tranquility. Drik Drishya is the seer and seen or subject-object distinction. If the seer is absent, there is no more seen, and the seer and the seen becomes one in this Vicharam, and awareness implies existence. It's not I and it, but the act of seeing becomes the standard of existence than defining what is seen and who's seeing. And here the cause is seen within the effect. So this awareness is Sat, Chit as well as Ananda. Awareness is manifested as existence, consciousness and bliss. And this subject-object distinction, we work on the seer-seen distinction, we think about it and we eventually end up there is no seer and the seen, because the world is anirvachaniya, the external world is anirvachaniya. So what is only solid, what is only true is that the act of seeing is happening there. So there is no negation of the act of seeing, but what we bracket out is who sees and what is seen. These two things we are not able to articulate in language. And through this Vicharam you can come to an end of this distinction of subject and object. And then there is another kind of Vicharam, that is Avasthatraya Vicharam. So you work on all human experiences are contained in three levels of consciousness. Jagrat. Jagrat is experiencing the world through senses in an awake state. Here even the experience changes, the subject who experience does not. The changeless experiencer or awareness is Satyam. The fleeting and ephemeral experiences are Asatyam. The Swapna, the dream state. Whatever is dreamed is unreal while awake, and Sushupti, the deep sleep. the experiencer of deep sleep is what remains. Turiya is the ultimate state of awareness that is aware of the avastatrayas and is experiencing the pure awareness. So in the avastatraya vishakalanam, you bracket out your experiences into a wake experience, a dreamt experience, and an experience in its negative state, in the sushupti. And here you see there is no ground for, there is no continuity for these experiences. It's like three different states, but the experiencer who goes through these experiences, who is talking about these three experiences in a singular point, from a singular point, that experiencer is the ground of awareness or the ground of truth. And you can think of either Digdrishya and like ponder on the Drigdrishya and come to the absurdity of existence, or through the Avastatraya Vishakalanam you can come to the absurdity of existence. And then there is Anubhava Vishakalanam. It is introspective analysis, or what we call it in phenomenological reduction, in existential phenomenology in West. It is introspective analysis of one's own experiences. An introspection, phenomenology, about the way I see, the way I experience things. So we thought about the avastatrayas, like the experiences it was changing. Now, what are the modes of my experiences? Like how am I doing it? So here as well, what is revealed is the truth of the cause of all experiences is awareness. So how am I doing is that I am directing my awareness in a direction. So that is what I am doing, like when I am doing any sensory perception. This is to follow the cause effect chain and reach the ultimate cause. And it's also it's also an analysis of a cause effect relation. So I see an object made from wood or clay, and I see there are few things, like few causes which is creating them. There is a structure of that object, there is the material of that object, and there is an energy put into, there is an effort, labor put into making that object. So these causes we drive into, okay, so I am not seeing actually that object, but I am seeing the function of three different causes. Then you go again to the causes back, and like that causes are effect of some greater cause. And this can be derived into a very primary, very primordial level of cause, a cause which is not caused by an effect, the primary cause, the ultimate cause, the Aristotelian prime mover in a way in Greek, from Greek philosophy. You through meditation, through vicharam of this cause effect relation, you will reach to a point that there is nothing else than the awareness in this world. So the starting point of the world of affairs, world is all that is the case. So is the senses, the beginning of all experiences is the senses. Without the senses there is no world experience possible. And the next layer, there is manas, the mind. That is what makes sense experiences meaningful. Mind is constituted of sankalpa and vikalpa, mainly desires and vasanas. And beyond mind, where the sense experiences are organized into desired and undesired clusters, into like labels and stereotypes, and categorized and organized as a way of existence, this mind is the folding of the fabric called buddhi. The buddhi is foundational to manas. Buddhi is the antakarana sthiti that unites sankalpa and vigalsa, the facts and desires. And further subtler to buddhi, there is the ultimate awareness, which is the very fabric of all kind of manifestations. So you meditate deeper and go deeper and deeper into the nature of things through avastatraya vishakalana, through drigdrishya vishakalana, through anubhava vishakalana, and this will take you. So it's kind of a, and then there is something called the patartha vishakalana, analysis of the Buddhas, like okay, what is this material made of? Okay, this book is made of paper, paper is made of wood, wood is made of earth. So you go back to the five elements, and where the five elements came, you go back into a chain of cause and effect to the Sankhya categories maybe, and that way also you will reach ultimately the Purusha, the utter awareness, the ultimate awareness. So anyways you use rationality, the vicharam, through you train the vicharam to do rationality, to do logic in the world of affairs, and ultimately through that logic we will reach a point of irony where the logic no more makes sense. And there, that an uncaused cause, that entity which is not bound to any reason, that is the fundamental fabric of existence, that is the awareness. And in the towards Upashama Prakaranam, the seeker, like I told, the seeker takes a 180-degree turn. So here, like in the beginning, what the seeker sees is that the fabric of all the forms are unreal, and it's called changing, and it is not real. And like you delve deep into it, you look further closer, you go closer, closer and closer, you analyze it, you do all the vicharam, like through vichara buddhi, you ultimately find that all these forms, all these patterns, though they are ephemeral and different, are made on the same fabric. And that fabric is eternal, that fabric is true. So you no more hate that patterns. You no more see that patterns as a hindrance for your experience, but that patterns becomes a shadow on your experience or a wave on your experience. It does not influence you substantially anymore. So your orientation have changed, your drishti badal gaya, that you no more see the forms, but you see the fabric in which the form is made. And this reaching is the Brahmanubhavam. And this fabric, it's not a distanced understanding of truth, but it is an embodied experience of truth, that you realize, you feel in your bone and flesh that everything is together, everything is connected, and nothing is isolated in this world, and it's all like part of the same fabric. It's all like different curves, different like folds in the same fabric. And vicharam is an extraordinary eye. It could see even in pitch dark. It won't distort. It's an eye that won't cling to experience. Vicharam is a thought stream that raises the questions like, how did this sickness of samsara cause? Who am I? And attempt to answer it logically and scientifically. The mind of those who have realized truth through vicharam is deep like an ocean, firm like a mountain, and cool like full moon. A jitnyasu has to practice satya vicharam until this tranquility of turiya anubhava is reached, and the truth of jiva brahma aikya is realized without any doubt, and has found inner peace through this. No silly intellectual rationality should block the curiosity of truth in a seeker. Truth is an indisputable experience, anubhudi. No seeker shall refuge in rational discourses that invalidate that experience. I remember Swami Vivekananda's talk on contrast on priests and prophets. He says we need more prophets, not priests. Priests preach what the prophets gone through. The prophets express what they themselves gone through, and we need to be more of prophets than of priests, like more emphasis on this experience than of discourse, memorizing and recollection or interpretation. So this is one thrust, cutting edge of Yogavasishta. I'm sure it's not a complete discourse, and it's not a comprehensive narrative we had in this lecture. We picked up few keywords, we discussed few rationalities working behind it. We approached this book in different ways. We picked up certain aspect of this, and like we just got introduced to the book through this. That's what I can say. And if at all I am able, like I have succeeded to ignite an element of curiosity in you and possibly an urge to pursue to read this book, I'm more than delighted. And even if that does not happen, like throughout this last 1 month, like I was preparing to do this session, it had been a an opportunity for me to revisit this text and to understand it again in a new light. And it definitely, like every time you come back to this book, like it talks to you differently. Maybe you are not the same person, and it's like the no two men step in the same river twice. No, like I am not going into the same book again. Every time I read, it's a new book, and it's Navanavanubhavam, like in that way. And I thank you again for this great opportunity to delve myself into this text again for Tadvanam Ashram. All those people who have participated and made the prana shakti of the ashram. And I wish very best wishes, warm regards from my heart to all of those who are like associated to this project also. And thanks once again for Satyanand, for Dilibatan, for Jayatan again, for making this happen. And I wish blessed ending for the colloquium we were having like since last 7 days, and happy Shivratri to all. Thank you.